Hello and welcome to another episode of Shots and Tricks, navigating life one shot at a time. I'm your host Mehek, and today we have a very special guest joining us, Lieutenant Colonel Amit Batra, fondly known as AB Kids Life Coach. He's here to discuss a topic that's close to the hearts of many parents: parenting a child with type 1 diabetes. Before we begin our conversation, let's welcome AB. AB, thank you for being on the show today. Amit Batra, or AB, as he is widely known, is a seasoned kids' life coach and parenting expert with a particular focus on supporting parents raising children with behavior issues and special needs. He brings a unique blend of personal experience and professional expertise to the table. AB, could you please share a bit more about your background and your work in the field of coaching parents of children?
Yes, Mehak, sure. Firstly, let me thank you for inviting me here. It's my pleasure to be on this platform, Unstoppable Type 1. And about me, if I have to share, I am an ex-army officer. I served in army for full 22 years, where I was serving the nation. And then I took this leap where I decided that I need to work with parents and children. As by God's grace, I have got an uncanny ability to connect with children pretty fast. I can understand their concern, their challenges, and can provide solution to that. Actually, it happened with me that my life turned topsy turvy when I was seemingly well settled, and that took me on a different path than most others. And I started introspecting, and I read more than 500 books on subconscious mind, child psychology, and what I came to realize that whosoever you are, it doesn't matter what your age is, it is because of your childhood. And then the issues which I was facing, I corrected them by revisiting my childhood. The foundation, that's so crucial. The foundation is so crucial. I corrected that. And this is where I landed up. I'm now founder of Happy Parents Hub, where parenthood meets happiness and children realize their true potential, they become smart. When I say smart, it is successful, motivated, adaptive, responsible, respectful, and tenacious. That's what we do in Happy Parents Hub. And what I have introduced is my happiness parenting model.
Amazing, amazing. Reading 500 books just on subconscious mind. I'm so in awe of it. Thank you so much for sharing all these things with us. And as I've told everybody in the last episode, that you are my mentor and you have guided me in this path. I always look up to you, and I know I am under the right mentorship that I am with you. So now let's get back to the topic. Let's start by addressing the unique challenges parents face when raising a child with type 1 diabetes. So, AB, what are some strategies for helping children cope up with mood swings, burnout, and social stigma associated with diabetes?
Okay, so if we have to talk about social stigma, see, type 1 diabetes, I have been seeing you, observing you, your challenges for past 5, 6 years now. And I've come to know from close quarters the kind of challenges that you face. So these young children who maybe, 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, it is definitely not easy. And how people view it. So that stigma goes with it, and it's definitely not a small challenge to deal with. But what we also need to realize that is it stigma because of diabetes, or is it there as part of a society? It doesn't matter what you are, what your problem is. There is going to be a stigma. There is going to be some label attached to you, right? The child may be a slow eater, slow learner, or the child may be talking very fast, talking too much, may not be able to do one kind of activity, may not be good in studies, so that label gets attached. As I said, type 1 diabetes is not a small thing, it's a big problem. But it's not that these issues are not there with the children who do not have similar issues, right? Even they are going through this. So this is not specific to the diabetes per se. It is there. So you have to prepare your child for these kind of things, whether you have diabetes or you don't have diabetes.
True, true. In fact, I often tell parents that the root cause of social stigma lies in the home of diabetic. Because whenever mother says or the father says, don't tell anybody that your child has diabetes, especially when one of the parent tells child, don't tell other people that you have diabetes, I think that's when the entire stigma starts, because the child now feels that there's something he needs to hide, and if anybody knows, he starts feeling inferior. So what are your thoughts about it?
Absolutely. See, it starts in the mind. The moment you have that kind of thing, you will not disclose the reality to someone. You're already deep in your mind, your self esteem is not going to be high, right? Now, the child is not comfortable with that very thought, with that reality which is there. Now, it's not easy also when you share it with others. So, the first thing that is required to be done is to prepare the child to face the world. And if you do not do it, you directly disclose, that's going to be a challenge. But there is no system which is existing right now. So we are sending children to the school, right? So that they get education. Education on what? The different subjects which are part of the curriculum. What about preparing the child for the life to be able to face such challenges? That there is no system which is existing. So if you do it without getting into that kind of, without preparing your child for that, it's not going to be easy.
Right, right. I totally agree. We associate diabetes with lot of behavior issues, especially mood swing and emotional fluctuations. Now, how do you recommend parents whose kids are type 1 diabetic to go through this, and how they can cope up with mood swings and emotional fluctuations?
So emotional fluctuation, mood swing. See, as I've been observing you for so many years, this your sugars are many times they're not in control. Despite you have such in-depth knowledge about diabetes, I see that challenge you face. And I remember there was a brief period when I was myself facing this challenge. So, as someone told me, maybe the pre-diabetes sign is there, which have disappeared now, obviously. But I remember my sugar used to dip by 4 to 5 unit, right? Normally, it is expected to be 83, and it used to dip to 878, and I used to feel so low. And in between, when it used to go high to 150, 180, there used to be, it was quite challenging. Now, for this child who is facing these kind of extreme thing, it is definitely not easy, right? To be able to maintain that. Now, what we need to understand, that's the internal issue which is there with the child. But at the end of it, a child, doesn't matter type 1 diabetic or otherwise, child is like a plant. And this is what I tell all parents. Children are like plants, they're responding to the environment. What kind of environment that they are living in? If outside there is the environment is not supportive and there is negativity to it, what happens to the child emotions? They are likely to be affected in an adverse manner, which we do not want. So, if you are not able to maintain that positivity, that belief that the child will be able to manage it, will it be easy for the child? No. So, see, those medical conditions are out of the control. But how do you take charge of your mind, your emotion? That is what we have to teach the child. How do you do that? By setting the right example. When you yourself are able to deal with it, that's how the child will learn. That is what my suggestion, that parent need to be clear about this aspect.
Definitely. So see, parenting a child with type 1 diabetes often involves navigating complex emotional journey for parents as well. And one thing that happens is, lot of parents I see, they feed their child certain things. This impact, I want you to, through you, I want these parents to know, how does this guilty feeding impacts the child?
Repeat my point, but what I stated earlier, your child has type 1 diabetes. Does it mean other children don't have challenges? They have their own set of challenges. The problem with the parents is doesn't matter the challenge, the problem. They are viewing their problem as much bigger than actually it is. So type 1 diabetes is already a big problem. They are seeing the problem much bigger than it is. Now, when it comes to the type 1 diabetes, it's a big issue. How do you deal with that? Not by seeing it as bigger than actually it is. 31-year-old girl who had come to you for type 1 diabetes, and you recommended her to change her diet, and she was like, how do I change my diet? How will I survive eating only these things? I'll not be comfortable. And perhaps she gave up after just couple of months. Whereas the young children who come to you, they adjust much faster, even 5 to 7 year old. It takes them week, 2 week, and they are happy doing it. So children per se, right, they adjust to things much faster, but because of our mindset that children will not be able to do, we are trying to feed them the things which are not healthy for them. When a child is born, the child doesn't know about these things, right? The sweet things, the junk food. Who introduced the child to those things? We did it because we are fond of it. Every week, at least once or twice, like, oh, I need to have something good. So what about this entire during the entire week, what you are having was not good? That's the mindset which you have created for yourself, and that is what you are passing on to your children. So this child isn't actually familiar with this particular aspect, but when you are talking it repeatedly, now it's there on the child's mind as well. Yes, I need to eat something like that. So do not consider your child just because he is not able to eat certain kind of food. Healthy food is always good for us. It's always good. So if the child is having healthy food, he is not at a disadvantage. He is at an advantage. You should be happy about it.
Thank you so much, AB. I like in my last podcast, I shared how I was avoiding healthy food, and you became my inspiration for all the healthy eating that I do now.
You were laughing at me for almost 6 months, and and you are always making fun. How can you have this kind of food?
Yeah, yeah, but definitely you are the right mentor.
And it is only you yourself realize the benefits of following healthy diet.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Thank you so much. I owe it to you. So, okay. Maybe just like we were talking about guilty feeding, I've seen something. I was talking to one of the mothers whose child was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and I was telling her that we all are diabetic and we need to come out of the trauma. She said, I don't know about others, but my child is super sensitive and my child cannot take care of herself. So I said that why we all are sensitive for our parents. It's just that we have to look beyond the sensitivity. Now, when a parent who comes and says, my child is sensitive, my child is weak, are there these statements impacting the child in taking care of diabetes?
The moment you think your child is weak, it starts from there, right? So the problem is already there. Are you viewing that problem bigger than what actually it is? We all need to be clear about. Generally, what we know about parenting, right, is to take care of our children, make sure they have that proper education, then they grow and have a career. What we need to realize is that what we are thinking that is impacting our children. So for me, parenting is the game of energy. What kind of energy you are passing on to your child? From the moment you think your child is weak, the child will go by your belief, by nothing else. That is very, very crucial. So the problem is already there. Are you seeing, so what parent, like I'll tell you, even the parent who children do not have any problem, they make mountain out of a mole, right? Now, in your case, there is already a kind of a mountain, but you are making it much bigger. You have to make your child capable, strong, so that the child, rather than getting overwhelmed or awed by the situation, the child should have the mentality, the mindset to be able to face it. And you will see history is replete with people who had much bigger problems and challenges, but they are able to overcome it. There are many people who are born without limbs. There is one girl, Stephanie Jalen. She does not have one leg and one arm. She doesn't have it. So I ask many parents when I conduct this session, I ask them, what do you think? As a young child, she doesn't have a leg and arm. Do you think she would be ever able to walk? Most of them say no. This girl does this skiing, ice skiing on mountains, and she is a medalist, bronze medalist in Paralympics, without an arm and a leg. Why? Because somewhere the parent gave her the belief that she will be able to come at par with others. You are making it much more difficult for your child. But I can tell you there are many parents who have type 1 diabetic children who are making their children strong. So they are at par with other children or even doing better than that. That is what is possible.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Stephanie Jelen is a very, very nice example you shared with us. So, AB, now moving forward, mothers and in fact fathers as well, they face lot of anxiety after the child is diagnosed with diabetes, and they tend to close themselves. They don't go for social outings, they don't go for any family meetings, they don't want to go out. I've seen themselves closing in their room, forgetting relationships. How does this impact the child?
Okay, so if you are not leading a normal life, right, and you are now not feeling comfortable, not feeling good, what is it that you are telling the child? Obviously, you are telling the child that things are not normal, and we cannot lead a normal life because of your issue. So, indirectly, you have conveyed to the child there is a big problem with you, right? The big problem, there is a bigger problem. So, the problem is big, now you are making it much bigger. You need to learn how to deal with it. You need to teach your child how to deal with it. That is what you have to be very clear. And understand there are ways, there are really good ways to deal with such thing. It is just that you might not be knowing it. But the moment you close your mind that now we are confronted with a really major issue and we cannot overcome it, you have given up in your life. The people who actually rise, who grow in their life are the ones who are not willing to give up, who are willing to take it head on. Prime example, Mehek. You are also kind of, you had resigned to the fate. You are going through the motions. You are just living your life. But you changed it. You changed your belief. You worked on yourself and you have taken the charge of your life despite being type 1 diabetes. How did that happen? Right? You found a way. You did not. So the moment you found a way, you latched onto it and you are working on those things now. That's why you are leading a much better life than any other type 1 diabetic. How did it happen? Because you believed in it. You had an open mind to learn and work on those things. So similarly, what is required for the parents also to understand you have a challenge, you have a big problem to deal with. Don't close your mind. Look for solution. There are solution existing to any and every problem.
Right, I totally believe it. That any problem out there, there is definitely a solution. We might have not found it at the present time, but definitely the solution is out there. Okay, Amy, so now this question has come up from few of the parents, especially whose kids have been diagnosed with type 1 diabetes below the age of 3. They don't know what is the right age to tell the child what is actually happening in the body. So when a child is diagnosed at early age, mostly we parents or we tell them that okay, insulin is a magic, and they have to take this magic or some other kind of phenomena, so that the child gets intrigued by that and still takes it. But I have parents have been asking me frequently, what is the right age to completely tell the child what is happening in his or her body, so that the child can start accepting from the word go.
So for these things, there is no right age, right? There is no right age for these things. But as the child is ready to take on, to accept these things, you have to gradually start feeding the child with these information. So at what age should you start? A 3-year-old child should have some idea about these things. Simply keeping the child in dark that this is not diabetes, what you are taking is a magic potion, you are misleading the child. Thereafter, suppose you do it for 2 years, 3 years, how long can you fool the children? You cannot fool them. And especially today's kids are very smart. They are not as dumb as we used to be. We didn't know about the world. Today's children, their knowledge level is very, very high. So if you're trying to fool them, which even otherwise, like, when the child is throwing tantrum, acting stubborn, parents are trying to fool them. So what I tell the parent, see, the transparency with children is the key. You being honest, truthful is the key. Parenting is simple only if you know how to keep it simple. So our intentions are good, but we end up complicating when we are trying to twist the facts. And without we realizing, children understand, they will not confront you directly, what you are telling me is not correct. But somehow they start getting the sense that my parents are not telling me the truth. So they will end up losing trust on whom? On the people who matter the most. A young child, it happening with a 6, 7-year-old child, it is very detrimental to his or her growth, mental growth. And mental growth is very essential for a young child, especially diabetic. So you have to keep the parenting very simple. So when do you start telling the child? As early as possible. So you may not reveal all the information the word go, but slowly and steadily you have to make it clear that there is a problem, whatever maybe it is, and you need to be prepared for it. So why many parents end up doing it? Because they think the child will not be able to take it. What you need to understand, the child has to take it. That's the reality. You may reject it for whatever period of time, till 15, 20, 30, 40 years, you may do it. But that's the reality. Why not to face it? Why not to prepare child mentally, emotionally for that? Now the problem is parent may not know how to prepare the child, right? But what you do in that case is to find a solution to it, to find the right source, the right person who can help you prepare your child for these things. Running away from these problems is no solution. In fact, many of us try to run away from the problem, right? Once again, it is not type 1 diabetes, it's our nature. When we try to run away from the problem rather than just to face it and find a solution. So the fact is that this is the reality. Prepare your child for it, right? Share the truth, prepare your child mentally, emotionally, find solution. There are solutions to it. There are sources, there are books, there is so much of information available on the internet. There are people like me who are there to guide. There are people like you who are there to guide. They have to reach out. And that's what you need to, that's what they need to do when it comes to the, preparing the children for this kind of problem.
Right. Definitely, I agree. Maybe one problem I've been saying that you were talking about education only. I've seen as children start growing, I've seen that children want to take responsibility of their diabetes. I've seen a 5-year-old asking his or her mother that I want to take my insulin on my own. I've seen this in 10-year-old who doesn't want her father to come to school to give him insulin shot. He wants to take it on his own. But parents are not able to let go. They always have the fear and they want to hold on to for one more year, and because of this holding on to one more year, I've seen parents of 18-year-old and 22-year-old struggling to let go now. So what advice do you have parents in encouraging their children to become more active participants in diabetes management, and what age is when they have to let go completely?
Before that, let me also tell you this problem is again not specific to the parents of type 1 diabetic children. This problem is there in general. We as parents do not make our children independent and responsible. We look at the youth today, right? In the 20s, they are struggling with small little things. Why? Because no one made them independent. Now, obviously, parents are doing everything with the good intention, the best intention for their children. Now, that's not the question. The question is somehow we believe that as the child will grow, he will be able to learn. It doesn't work that way. Will be able to learn? No. We have to create the right environment whereby the child becomes independent. We are not doing it. So 17, 18, 20-year-old children, even beyond that, who cannot do basic things in their life. They cannot take care of themselves. And it has got nothing to do with type 1 diabetic. So this issue is there. We are not preparing our children for life. We are not making them independent and responsible. So it is the same thing which you are seeing in parents whose children are type 1 diabetic. There is nothing more.
Right.
Only thing here is bigger. Their problem is bigger. For them also it is the same. For them, in fact, there is a bigger reason to make the child independent. And if they do not do it, the child is going to face much more problem than otherwise. So they need to realize that these simple things. Now they are afraid that something may go wrong. But what they need to realize, something will always go wrong. It's not about preventing that to happen because that is beyond you. It's about preparing you and your child for what that something will go wrong. It's preparation. It's the child who is strong, who is independent, who is responsible. When do you do it? What age? You ask me, I'll do it at the earliest. Like you say, 5 years, right? In your community, type 1 diabetic community which you are running. If I'm not mistaken, there are 5-year-old children who are taking insulin on their own.
Yes,
Yes,
there are.
5-year-old children. That's how much they are capable. But because we do not believe in them, they become dependent on you. So, what is the right age? 5 years is definitely the right age where the child should learn. He has to face the reality. He becomes stronger. He becomes independent. And not only that, it benefits him in many, many ways.
Yeah, that's what I also tell people in my community, that if not anything, independence is the base of everything. All I want is to teach independence to the child to be able to manage diabetes. So, what you shared was really mind opening. We have to think about it. In fact, I request all my listeners to please, please, please focus on making your kids independent, if not anything. Now, AB, we are moving to the most interesting segment of type 1 diabetes, that is teenagers. So often I hear this complaint, which I don't believe because I've seen my teenage community to be very active and very responsible. However, I have always seen parents saying that teenagers don't want to take care of themselves. Teenagers resist diabetes management, and teenagers do not comply to maintaining a positive and supportive relationship with their diabetes. So, how can parents approach their teenagers in such
Answer to this question, which you just asked, lies in the question that we already discussed. So,
independence?
teenager is not taking responsibility, not willing to manage his or her diabetes independently. You have not made your child independent ever. It's that. Have you sown the seed at the right age? Have you done it? No. How did this child suddenly start taking responsibility? Now, once again, it's see, these most of the things that we are talking about are common about whether the child is type 1 or not. These are common patterns which are there and they apply across the board.
Right, right.
So once again, to give you an example, a mother comes, 13-year-old child. My child is not willing to do anything on his own. The question is, did you teach him when he was younger? No. No, but at least now he should do it. Now he has grown up. So each one of us is creature of our habit, right? So the child whose habits have become not to do anything, now suddenly you are expecting the child to start doing things on his own. How will that happen? It doesn't happen that way. It takes time. So now if you are wanting your child to change, it has to go through a process. The child is now not doing things because it's out of habits. It's not because he or she is not willing to do it. Willingness also may be questioned now because again it's a habit, right? So that may also be there. So if you want your child to change now, understand you will have to be empathetic with the child. You will have to be supportive. The child may be wanting to do it. You have to be supportive. Now it comes to the teenager, type 1 diabetic teenager. The same thing apply there. You have to go through this slow process, which may take a little time. But if you are able to do it in the right manner, like we are doing it with children who are there in our community, Happy Parents sub community that we have created through the happiness parenting model. The teenagers who come and they are not willing to do anything. But when we make parent go through that simple process, we tweak their approach, still teenager take their responsibility. They are rather happy to do it. They are happy to do it.
Definitely. So, what you told, that creating an empathetic environment and supporting them through this shift is utmost important. Very important point that you have shared. Now, AB, we have seen some parents using consequences and reward systems. So they're like, if you complete your food after taking insulin, I'll give you a toffee. Or if you eat entire salad, I'll give you a chocolate post your meal. So are these methods motivating, effective, or they should be avoided?
Very effective in corrupting your child's mind. So if that is what you are looking to do, you must do it. So what is it? Basically, you're bribing the child. You are tempting your child to do something which is right for him or otherwise, and the child will do it only if there is adequate reward, a justifying reward, which should attract me. So it's only what is going to happen initially. The reward is going to be small. After a couple of months, that reward becomes so small, the child will start ignoring. Now you have to give something bigger, much more. How far can you go? So you are having a wrong approach. You are not instilling the sense of responsibility in the child, right? You are trying to use the carrot, the stick method with your child. How long will it work? So, on one side, we want our children to be independent and responsible, and what we are doing is just the opposite of it. So, how does that work? So, that's what I said. See, parenting is simple only if you keep it simple. By doing these things, we are complicating, we are making them dependent, we are making them greedy, we are making them seek something in return, even what is for their good. And then we say children don't take responsibility. They are not listening to us. They become greedy. They do not respect us. So these small things, how complicated we have made the entire thing now. By doing these small mistakes, basically we are looking for short-term solutions, and we are in long term, we are creating a lot of damage, harm for our own children and for our relationship as well.
So basically, we are teaching our kids how to manipulate. And parents say that, okay, I'll stop doing it once the child grows at a certain age. But you are saying that after that certain age, the child's demand will also increase.
It is a chicken and egg situation. What will come first? My child will take responsibility and then I'll give it, or you will give responsibility and then the child will take. So you have to choose chicken first or egg first. And many parents say, oh, no, I have already tried, the child doesn't take responsibility. The question is, were you persistent? Were you consistent? Were you sure in your mind that I have to make my child independent? Or you were there to give up at the very outset? So many times you will not be able to do on your own. Then you have to find a supportive environment. Then you have to find ways so that it becomes easier for you, right? That's why the community like what you have created, what parenting, what we have created. So there are solutions. But if you just give up, then obviously there is nothing that can be done. God help those who can, who help themselves.
Right, right. Avi, I have so many more questions which parents have been asking, and I think we'll be having another set of episode with you. We'll be concluding this episode so that it becomes more palatable for parents to consume this thing. So, before we conclude, Avi, do you have any final thoughts or advice you would like to share with our listeners who are parenting children with type 1 diabetes?
Definitely, Mehak, what I would like to say in the end, your energy with your children is very important. And your energy comes from your thoughts, your vibes, right? That is very, very crucial. There are people like you, Mehak. So we know that there is no cure treatment to the type 1, but how do you cope up with it? That's the key. You have been able to do it. You are leading a wonderful life and you have become a role model for many others. This young girl, 6-year-old, she could not walk. 9 years, she barely started walking. At the age of 12 years, she started running a bit. At the age of 20 years, she won 3 gold medals in Olympics. Wilma Rudolph, 1916. And what she said, my mother is the one who supported me. So what she said, my doctor told me you would never walk. My mother said you would. I believed my mother. That's the power of your words, your thoughts, and come to children. So I have to just sum it up. If you think your child can, you are right. If you think your child can, you are right. And if you think your child can't, you are still right.
Wow, that was a wonderful story, Avi. Thank you so much. Avi, so I'll be ending now, but if our listeners want to connect with you or access your coaching service, how can they reach out to you?
It's very simple. Just search on the Google, right? AB, my name is Amit Batra, AB, Kids Life Coach. You search for that, you will have all the access, right? You can join our webinar. That link you can provide in this, where we teach them how, even if you are facing difficult challenges, the problems are big, you can take charge of it. You can make your child take charge of it, and you can help them come out of it.
Definitely. So thank you, AB, for joining us today and sharing your valuable insights on parenting a child with type 1 diabetes. We hope this discussion has provided guidance and support to our listeners who are on this parenting journey. To our audience, remember that you are not alone in this journey. There are resources, support networks, and professionals like AB who are here to help you navigate the challenges of parenting a child with diabetes. That's all for today's episode of Shorts and Tricks. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might benefit with this information. Stay tuned for more informative and empowering episode. Until next time, keep defining your diabetes journey.